Instant match reaction, Everton 0, Newcastle 2 at Goodison Park. An absolutely shocking, disgraceful, atrocious performance by Everton Football Club. And just a big, massive reality check once again. You know, we had the same before the West Ham game. We had the same before the Southampton game. Just when we get our hopes up, just when we seem to be in relatively decent form, we get a massive reality check as to say that we're nowhere near as good as we think we are. We aren't a European champion challenging side. We just aren't at all. We need about 4 or 5 players to even be a side that challenges in a European competition or for a European competition. It was just atrocious again, and a side that have been in awful form for 6, 7, 8 weeks, whatever it's been, and haven't scored a goal since the turn of the year. I've just turned up and beat us 2-0 and now I've done a double over us this season. And it's games like that today that really, really matter. It's all good putting a decent performance in against Chelsea and Arsenal and against Leicester and sides that are in and around the top end of the league. But when you go into sides that are struggling at the bottom of the league and you can't even put them to the sword and you can't even come away with a win, it's just not good enough whatsoever. Newcastle absolutely deserved that win today. We were awful. We were absolutely awful from start to finish. Luca Dean was shocking, probably his worst performance in an Everton shirt today. The amount of space he had on that left hand side in the first half to put balls into the box, and he just didn't whatsoever. Richarlison was non-existent again. Probably needs to come out the team now and have 2 or 3 weeks where he's just not involved, because he's just not getting, he's just not doing anything whatsoever. Defensively he's alright, but he's not there to defend. He's there to create going forward, and he was awful doing it again today. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, yes, okay, he didn't get many chances, he didn't get many opportunities, but, you know, again, didn't light anything up, did he really? Let's be perfectly honest with you. James Rodriguez struggled to create anything, struggled really to get into the game, and it was just another atrocious, like I said, massive reality check for Everton Football Club. We were asked, Carlo Ancelotti was asked in the press conferences earlier on this week, you know, are Everton good enough to finish in the Champions League, and are Everton good enough to be playing European football? And he said, look, ask me after this week, ask me on Sunday morning. And so far this week we've taken a point from a game against Leicester, which we, you know, we're probably lucky to get a point in, to be honest with you, given how much they attacked in the second half. And we've just been absolutely torn to pieces by a side that haven't won a game since about 1946 today. And that's no disrespect to Newcastle. Look, obviously I'm very frustrated and I'm very annoyed at that performance. They turned up and they thoroughly deserved the win. Callum Wilson played us off the park all day played us off the park, and they attacked and they grew in confidence, and we knew that was going to happen. You know, we started far too slow and we started in control, and it was a decent first 15-20 minutes, but that was all it was, a decent first 15-20 minutes. It was even, and that game shouldn't have been even. We should have been miles ahead of Newcastle in the first half. We should have been creating a lot more. We should have been getting forward. We should have been, you know, throwing people in attack. And what's become quite evidently clear for me today is that, you know, recently we've adopted this different style of formation and different style of playing, of having Ben Godfrey at left back and Mason Holgate at right back, and sort of adopting a low block and just defending for 90 minutes and then hitting teams on the counter-attack with individual quality. You know, we saw it against Leicester, it worked defensively. We've seen it multiple times in the past, but today Carlo Ancelotti changed it and started to go a little bit more attacking. He put Dean at left back again for that, you know, creativity down the left hand side. Coleman at right back, who's a bit more of an attacking threat than Holgate apparently. And he tried to attack the game, and to be fair, you know, blame does fall on Carlo Ancelotti today because the substitutions were poor. How Gylfi Sigurdsson stayed on the pitch for 90 minutes, I will never, ever, ever know. But the camera must have panned to Carlo about 4 or 5 times, and he's turning around and he's looking at the bench and there's nobody there. I know Marcel Brands doesn't like to do business in January. I know he come out and said, look, we're not likely to sign anybody. I know if we were likely to sign someone, it was going to be Joshua Zirkzee, who now looks like he's going to join Parma. But we have to go out. We have to do something in this window. If we want to finish in a European place, or if we want to at least challenge this season, we simply have to bring in a backup striker this season. Cenk Tosun not on this window. Cenk Tosun not on the bench again today. Why? Because it's clear he's leaving the football club. If he wasn't leaving the football club, he'd be in the matchday squad. You know, even players like Bernard, who until very recently were in the matchday squad, but they look like they're going to be leaving as well. We cannot go for the remainder of this season with that bench, with the likes of only Anthony Gordon, who's unproved and and nobody else who's going to come on in an attacking place. We had 2 goalkeepers on the bench again today, about 3 defenders on the bench. Who's going to come on and change a game? So if Marcel Brands and Carlo Ancelotti want to adapt this sort of, oh, well, we don't like to do business in January and it's not really the market for it, that's fair enough, but we'll finish in a mid-table place this season. So let's not get our hopes up anymore, because we won't finish higher than 8th this season if we don't go out and we don't bring in a backup option up front this season, because Dominic Calvert-Lewin has been struggling, and that's not all down to himself. Recently, he hasn't had the chances created for him. He hasn't really had the output. He hasn't really had balls coming into the box. So that's not entirely his fault. But in times like this, when we are struggling, we need to be able to look to the bench and go, you know what, we'll bring him off the bench instead. We'll give Dom a little bit of a rest. We'll bring him on, who maybe runs the lines a little bit better than Dominic Calvert-Lewin does, or maybe is a little bit more skillful than Dominic Calvert-Lewin is. But we've got no one. We've got absolutely no one. And if this Everton team doesn't play well from the off, we aren't changing it. I've said this a number of times before. If we're poor at the start of a game or at half time or whatever, whereas any other team challenging for the European competition and say, right, okay, we'll change this here, we'll bring X on, we'll bring Y on, we'll go for the game a little bit more. We haven't got that. So if we're shite, we're shite. And you pretty much know that from the opening 20 minutes. If we're looking at it thinking, we haven't really had a good start to this game yet, that's how the game is going to go. We very rarely step it up. We very rarely change, because there's nobody to come off the bench and make a change. And we've seen it again today. And again, like I said at the start of the video, it's just a massive, massive reality check. It's a massive kick in the face as to state that we aren't as good as we maybe think we are. Like I said it on Twitter just after the game before, I don't think there's one Everton player who had a good game. I actually think, ironically, if there was any Everton player who had half decent game, I think it was Jordan Pickford. Now, you might be able to say he could do better for the first goal, the header, but there's about 17 Everton players standing in the box and they all just watch Callum Wilson run and jump up and head it. And yes, it's coming across him, and maybe if he was a bit taller, he'd have saved it, but I'm not putting that on Jordan Pickford when Callum Wilson's jumped up and 6 Everton players have gone nowhere near him, despite the fact that they're standing on their own. The second goal's a counter-attack. Again, no fault of Jordan Pickford. He made a big save in the first half, and I think he's probably the only Everton player who had an half-decent game. Everyone else, Richarlison, awful. Luca Dean, dreadful. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, non-existent. James Rodriguez, moved about a little bit and tried to create, but let's be honest, nothing really happened for him. Andre Gomez come on and done okay, but okay isn't good enough. Gylfi Sigurdsson was about as active as this ruler sitting next to me here on the desk. It was just awful, absolutely awful, and it's become evident for me that we just need to stick at what we're good at, and what we're good at is Ben Godfrey at left back, Mason Holgate at right back, Mina and Keane at centre half, and just do the defensive stuff and just do the low block and hope that we'll be able to hit most teams on the counter-attack and score and win games of football like that. Yes, it'll be horrible to watch, yes, it'll be boring, but we come up against probably the most out-of-form team in the Premier League today. They haven't won a game for a matter of weeks and weeks and weeks, and we tried that, let's go a little bit of an attack and let's try and change it up a little bit, and we just got played off the park, absolutely embarrassingly played off the park today, and it's absolutely not good enough whatsoever. So from now on, Luca Dean has to fight his way back into the team, probably needs a little bit more game time. I don't want to go too deep in on him because he has only just come back from a really bad injury, and again, he's come back quicker than we all thought he would. But today, the amount of space he had on that left-hand side in the first half, whereas usually you'd expecting about 4 or 5 really good quality balls into the box from Luca Dean, and probably 2 or 3 goals come out of them, but today he was so wasteful. He was really poor, and Ben Godfrey and Mason Holgate are probably sitting on the bench thinking, A, what did we do to get dropped for a start? And B, if we're being rested, then we're back in on Wednesday, because we clearly can't play that expansive, attacking, beautiful football. I don't know what's changed from the start of the season when we were absolutely fantastic. Maybe it's not having Alan in there, who's such a pivotal part of our midfield and such a pivotal part of our side. Maybe the absence of Alan is the big difference. But again, today we put out a side that should have been more than good enough to beat a Newcastle side who have been woeful recently, and we just absolutely dreadful. I'm so frustrated and I'm so annoyed, because it's the hope that kills you with this football club. It's the hope of you know, can we finish in a European competition? Can we, you know, maybe even play in the Champions League next season? Can we do this? Can we do that? And it's games like this that just show you that we're not ready for that whatsoever. We are not ready for it. Like I said, it's all good beating Wolves, it's all good beating Leicester and beating Chelsea and beating Arsenal and beating those teams that are in that conversation as well. But when you come up against sides that you should be absolutely steamrolling and you put in performances like that, you don't deserve to be in the conversation. And I've been a massive critic of the media over the last 12 months or so with Everton Football Club, and certainly recently, you know, all of this stuff where they show the table and Everton aren't involved in it, or they talk about who can finish in a Champions League position and Everton aren't involved in that conversation. Roy Keane come out a couple of weeks ago and was asked about the title race and said, yes, I can see Leicester finishing it. And he said, forget about Everton. And me and Tom sat down and done a video about why Roy Keane is wrong and why he was wrong to say that. And at the time, he was wrong to say that. But Roy Keane probably looked at that and thought, well, yeah, Everton are playing well at the moment, but there'll come a game where they play somebody absolutely awful and they'll get beat by them. And that's why they're not ready for a title challenge. That's why they're not ready for the Champions League. And how can we argue against that? How can we argue against these people that are coming out and saying, then they won't be there at the end of the season, when games like this where you're sitting back thinking should be a comfortable win here, we're putting in performances like that? It's not good enough whatsoever. It's absolutely not good enough. And today we had a perfect opportunity to line up and play in the same fashion as we did against Sheffield Wednesday and go out and just beat a team that we should be more than capable of beating. And we just got absolutely turned around. It was dross. It was absolutely dross. And yeah, look, I don't even care about Wednesday's game. I think we're playing Leeds. I'm not even bothered anymore. I'm so done with just football at the moment, because it is the hope that kills you. I'd rather us be shite and come into this game shite and think, yeah, well, we've lost another game, but we're not that great, than play teams off the park and be absolutely brilliant and then come win a game where you're thinking, yeah, we should be sound here, and just get beat comfortably. It is the hope that kills you, and I just can't be bothered. I can't be bothered anymore. Player ratings will be up in a moment. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you've enjoyed it, leave a like. If you want to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.